Hello and welcome to episode 29 of AARGH My Optics, Part 2. A podcast where grown adults discuss, overanalyze and generally take a toy and media franchise originally intended for kids a little too seriously. And today we continue to talk about the Spider-Verse movies. I am your bathrobe-wearing, irresponsible, impossibly stupid co-host from another dimension, Orion Ghia. And with me is my slightly less than last time, but still out of his depth and verging on unlikably cocky co-host, Virtual Dave. How you doing?
I'm feeling so much better this time round.
And starting to wonder why he signed up for this is our resident authority on all things four-coloured and marble-flavoured, the one and only Galactosh.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Right, so where were we? Ah, yes, I think we just finished talking about the plot of Across the Spider-Verse.
My optics!
To be continued.
To be continued, only we didn't have a satisfying end to this movie.
We didn't have a satisfying middle to this movie. It's all beginning.
Yeah, I'd say we've moved into the second act and stopped, pretty much, which is...
Bad storytelling.
Well, we'll get onto it. So, anything else you'd like to bring up about it? We'll talk about our verdicts as well. I mean, I noticed that everyone was a lot more quippy and self-referential, and it felt more MCU-like.
Yeah.
People referenced things they couldn't possibly have heard, like they'd watched the movie already. Like when, unless they're monitoring everything that's going on, like when Jess Drew turns up, she kind of takes the piss out of Miguel for Gwen, who's being incredibly quippy. Calling him Dark Garfield. And it's like, well, how did you know that? How did you hear that? Like, you weren't there.
I guess Layla's giving her the update because she's already said that she already called her before he asked for the backup. I don't know. Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah,
there's a lot of quippiness. Everyone's trying to out-quip each other. They do a good job of it, like successfully introducing lesser-known Spider people. I don't think that's too bad. You know, Jessica Drew, Spider-Punk. I really like Spider-Punk. I thought he was a good character. He's one of the few really good ones that I really like the addition of.
I love that he wasn't pushed as like... I mean, they kind of did, but not... It wasn't heavily pushed that he was like gonna be like getting in the way of Miles and Gwen. Like a arrogant person pushing him out the way, wrapping his arms around Gwen type of thing. Like, if anything, they try and start off because there's this hints that she knows him very well, and it's like, oh, you've not met Hobie yet? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're really good friends. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's wearing his trainers. She left her jumper at his house.
Although I do have to point out that as a British punk, he wouldn't be wearing Converse. Just want to point that out.
I don't think they're I don't think they're Converse. There's something else.
No, they are. He calls them Chucks. He calls them Chucks.
Oh, does he? Oh, right. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he helps Miles in like almost weirdly fitting in that scene where he's being told that all is just going on. He tells him earlier in the film when he's using his powers to use his whole hand type of thing, and like.
How does he know that?
I don't know. But it's nice that he tried to help him.
Has he got electric powers too? Like, how does he know that?
Maybe. But when it was all going down, he said it to him again, and to really reaffirm, like, do something about this, you know. Like,
yeah. No, I like him.
I kind of like that about him.
I think they get his rebellious attitude across really well. And I like the guy playing him. I think he's a good character. He's... Like I say, I really liked him. And I like Spider-Man India as well. And then the other ones just got less screen time because there's so much going on in the movie. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't get... Like, Jessica Drew is, like, really underused. I'm not even sure why she's there.
I felt like something more was going to happen with her because they make a big thing about her being pregnant at the start. And they don't know if it's a boy or a girl. But it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it's not even mentioned that she's still pregnant later. I don't know if she's had the baby or not. I couldn't really tell.
Well, you know what it is, don't you? This movie is not only the connective tissue between the first movie and the last movie. It's also a backdoor pilot for the Spider-Woman TV show they're going to do, or movie where it's all female.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did hear about this, yes.
That's the thing, though. There's lots of stuff like, we're just setting things up for the next movie or the next product, and that's like exactly what the first movie didn't do. And it feels a little bit, kind of... There's quite a lot of product placement in this as well.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you see, I think the guy that he lives with, Miles lives with, is playing the computer game.
He's playing the new Spider-Man 2 game that's not out yet, but he's playing as Miles in it.
Precisely. There's lots of this kind of going on. And because you've got all of these millions of Spider-Man, you could do toys of those, we're all going to be doing them. So it's, they brought out a cyborg Spider-Woman toy that's barely in the movie.
I thought that... There's loads of them that have this issue. They've got Funko Pops of them, all sorts of business, and you would think they'd play more of a role in the film. I mean, but, yeah. I think she even speaks. I don't even think there's the misgendering of thinking that this is no man, no, I'm a woman, or anything.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know, would you?
Nothing.
And yeah, the meta jokes get a bit tiresome. There's a bit too much of that in this one. Endless Easter eggs, and oh, look, it's that Spider-Man from that well-known show, movie, or comic. It's very, like I said about the kind of quippiness, it's that MCU thing that they do, where they go, look at us, we're in a movie! Can't we just keep this reality one thing, rather than referencing all the other things? Like, there's references to the live-action stuff, I could have done without that. Didn't need live-action Danny Glover. Is it Danny Glover? Not Danny Glover.
Donald
Glover. Donald Glover. Donald Glover is the Prowler from, I suppose, Amazing Spider-Man universe or whatever.
No, Homecoming.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I thought he was being set up to play the Shocker in that one, but
Me too. But I suppose he could be the Prowler as well. He is called Aaron Davies, though, so in that movie, so I suppose it makes sense. But yeah, that stuff, I just thought this universe was an animated universe, and all realities were animated. To stick the live-action stuff in, it just seems a bit unnecessary. I don't mind it, but it kind of annoyed me. I didn't need it.
I prefer
especially if you're going to reference Captain Stacy's death in Amazing Spider-Man, don't make it a death that doesn't fit the description of how he should die. That's just stupid.
I prefer the MCU uncle to when Spock goes into the Venom movies and goes to the shopkeeper.
That's fine. I quite like that as an Easter egg, but don't over.
That was fine.
Yeah, just don't bang us over the head with it endlessly.
Like cameos too far. Like, did anyone else notice that Alfred Molina's Doc Ock says "Hello, Peter" to him?
I didn't know.
So that either means they've got him locked up there, or they've completely just put him in part of the chase.
I mean, they reference the MCU universe, saying, "Oh, don't get me started on this universe and Doctor Strange and so on," talking about the multiverse business that was going on in that movie. So yeah, I mean, everything happened. All realities are possible now. It's no longer its own thing. It's now part of the massive canvas of Sony products. They're all linked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, not great. But I mean, to be honest, my biggest issue is the pacing and the fact that it doesn't end. It felt simultaneously decompressed and overstuffed. Yeah.
It had the same problem as The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
Too little stuff put in too big a space.
Yeah.
Like too little butter spread over too much bread. Back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not got enough plot to warrant 2 films. Because what it does doesn't constitute anything to go with a 3-act problem. You should have 3 acts in a story.
Yeah.
A beginning, which this film has, a middle, and an end. Now, the last 2 are missing. We just about start in the middle.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the second film is going to be a middle and an end and have no beginning?
Yeah. Although I reckon it will have a beginning, but it will be just kind of like recapping.
It will be a recap, I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it will be like, oh, this previously on Spider-Man.
Yeah, that doesn't make it a good... It's not a good structured film.
No. Dave, you mentioned that your introduction to this stuff is through computer games. And I know you don't have such a problem with the pacing and the way it ends as we do. But I think that's because this plays out like a computer game.
Fair point.
It goes from 1 to 100, then back to 1 again, then back to 100. It's like being on a roller coaster. And it often slows down to set up next movie stuff or spin-off stuff. And it's like you're watching the cutscenes, and then when we have the action bits, this is the bit where you're playing the game.
Yes. Because Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions and Spider-Man Edge of Time, 2 games, which kind of introduced that type of Spider-Verse idea, because the writer of the Spider-Verse story wrote Shattered Dimensions, where they bring in all these different Spider-Man.
As in the writer, the comic book writer, or the writer of...
The comic book writer.
So Dan Slott.
Dan Slott wrote the story for the game. And then he embellished that when he eventually did this comic book story. And the same with Edge of Time, the writer for Spider-Man 2099, whose name escapes me.
I don't know, off the top of my head.
Also wrote that.
Yeah. The writer and co-creator of Spider-Man 2099, Peter David, did indeed write the story for Spider-Man Edge of Time, which was the sequel to the Dan Slott-penned Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Who knew? Well, I guess Dave did.
So it was very much like it's... Like you were saying to me, what's the connection between the games? Like, yes, if you play those games, you would be used to how this plays out. And it does feel like that.
Yeah.
You're saying perhaps we're too old for this.
Yeah.
And the kids
they're
today
great
and their attention span is more aimed at people who have got fewer years on the clock than me and Orion.
I think you're right. I mean, I did actually write this down. I said, like, who is this for? Like, because it doesn't seem for people who respect the general structure of a movie. I think it's for a younger generation, but it's not for kids. Like the first movie, definitely you can show a kid that and they'll like it, they'll enjoy it. I don't think a kid's going to find this very entertaining. They're going to find it confusing.
When I went to the theatre to watch it, there was like a family behind me, and if I had to guess, the kids were like anywhere between 8 and 13 or something, and the genuine outrage that it ended the way it did. Like, oh my god. Like,
how I felt.
Yelling to his mum, when we're going to watch the next one.
It's exactly how I walked out of the cinema feeling completely underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Disappointed. Shortchanged.
I was bored and then underwhelmed. And that was my whole thought process. I spent an hour and 10 minutes going, is this film going to start? And then I spent an hour and 10 minutes going, how long is this film? It must be 4 hours because we're not even out the first act yet. And then it ends just as something happens.
Yeah. They don't appear to have made any effort to make it work as a movie on its own.
It's like it just ended. It's like they went, damn it, we're not going to get this out on time. Where are we? Just finish it there.
Yeah.
That'll do.
We'll cut here.
Yeah.
And we'll continue this in a couple of years. Because it's meant to be out in March, but it ain't coming out in March.
It's meant to come out in 2026 now, or 20...
I don't know if anyone said that.
I guess if we push back...
I might not even be alive by 2026.
Yeah, we're getting a bit old for this now, you know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, for me, doesn't have a satisfying ending.
No.
The director, Kemp Powers, who is one of the new directors, said in an interview in 2023, so this year, that the film would end on a cliffhanger. And co-director Dos Santos compared it to the Star Wars original trilogy film, The Empire Strikes Back, which I would argue actually does have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
It does have a middle. It does have a middle, beginning, end, and doesn't end on a cliffhanger.
No,
ends on a bummer. Doesn't end on a cliffhanger.
No, I mean, I suppose you could describe it as, what's going to happen next, as a cliffhanger, but is that a cliffhanger? That's not in traditional sense, is it?
It ends as a middle act should.
Yeah.
It's a 3-act film that is also a middle act.
Mm-hmm.
It's not...
Is that the one where Luke loses an arm?
Well, hand.
A hand.
Hand.
Yes, it is the one where Luke loses a hand and gets a new hand at the end.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what happens at the end of that film. Like, okay, yeah, okay, but yeah, okay.
Lando puts on Hand's clothes and said, "We'll find him. Don't worry."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then Luke, using his new hand, touches up his sister.
Yep. He doesn't know it's his sister yet, though.
No. They did cop off at the beginning of the film, to be fair.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is a direct quote from Powers. Across the Spider-Verse is a movie on its own.
No.
But it definitely ends on a bit of a cliffhanger.
No.
I think it's a good cliffhanger.
It's not a cliffhanger.
No, I don't think it is either. We hope that it's a satisfying tee-up for what's coming in the third film.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tee-up, yeah. Because we want people to be excited about what's coming next. Well, I'm not.
Not disappointed about what they've just seen.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose there's one way. There's two ways of looking at it.
And it helps that we know going into this that it was going to be a part 2 of a 3-part story. No, it's not. It's part 1 of a 2-part story.
But they started it and then made it 2 parts anyway.
Yeah, so that's not true at all. Since you already know that the third story is guaranteed, you can tackle this one a bit differently. That being said, there's a lot of key characters in this film, and there's a story in this film that has an arc of its own that we needed to be complete. But it's not.
Where's the arc? Who's got an arc?
I assume they're talking about Miles or maybe Gwen.
Gwen might vaguely have an arc.
They sort of have an arc.
I think, yeah, probably Gwen.
But, no, I don't think anything is... Yeah, Gwen more than anybody, I think. But not Miles, really. Yeah. Miles is kind of in the same situation at the end of the movie he was in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
He's not really gone on any kind of journey.
I guess he's had throughout the film he's had people telling him, you know, there's great expectations from his parents and stuff, and the story that people are writing for him about what he should do, and like that whole conversation with him and his it's not a teacher, whoever's helping him get into this university, and that whole conversation about him and who he should be, and then when she's talking to him, she constructs a whole thing about how he should be, and
but no one.
And then there's all this thing about how people are telling him that he's the anomaly from Miguel.
It would work if people bought into it, but they don't. His parents don't buy into it. They're already saying, "Go, do what you need to do. We trust you." His mother has a really long conversation with her about it.
Yes, his mum does. Yeah.
With great expectations comes great mediocrity.
I think I wrote something similar, which I'll probably get onto in a bit. But okay. So that side, Dave, here's your chance to tell us why it's good.
Convince me.
I enjoyed the film.
That's it. I'm done. Convinced. See you later.
I loved the visuals. I thought that the animation not only, was stepped up in this film. There was so much more because we go to different universes and we get to see different styles of animations while we're there, instead of just being locked to the character in one universe. I did like that. I did like the transition from the different universes. I like the aesthetics or the designs of the characters. Some have been tweaked, some have been changed, some have been given whole new looks, but I thought across the board most of them look pretty good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us would disagree that the animation is top drawer and
No, it's beautiful. It's still beautiful.
It's an improvement on the first movie.
Yeah,
visually,
yeah.
And that's a hard act to follow.
Yes, I enjoyed the action sequences. I liked that coming from like seeing Miles being so unsure about himself and what he can do and his abilities, there was this borderline cockiness of that. He was so sure that he could do things, and he could, like, his fight with the Spot at the start, like, you can really tell as the fight goes along, like, he's learning that I can't hit him, I can't web him up, I can't do this and that, but even if I do go through the portal and pull something through, or I tackle him by going some other way, like, I just like the little bits about how they set up the fights and how they use Spot's abilities to make cool action sequences.
Yeah, all that works really well.
All of that. I mean, I'm a sucker for that type of thing. It draws me in. Like, I love that type of stuff about these films.
Yeah, I mean it's a visual spectacle, absolutely. Like, there's no denying that. Like, it looks amazing, and some of the best animation I've seen ever in places. It's fantastic what they've done and how they managed to tie all those different characters together, and the way that Spider-Punk is animated is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's really good visually. But I can't just let it off because of that. You know?
No.
Style over substance.
No. I think one of the things that I thought was a bit more quantity than quality type of thing was the Spider Society bit. Of seeing all these different Spider-Men in one room, or multiple rooms, from different comic books or
realities.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, where these characters are coming from, because some of them get like a little bubble that says who they are or where they're from.
Yeah.
Or some of them don't, and I feel like if they had less in those scenes, it might have worked better, because there's like a point where there's just too many people.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
And it kind of, you can almost tell that some of them are almost like palette swaps or something, like almost like in a video game where there's just like there's the background characters, but they don't matter because they're the background characters.
But a lot of the background characters aren't characters; they're literally Spider-Men from individual issues. Like the armored Spider-Man's in there.
Yeah.
And it's not multiple reality Spider-Man, it's just different looks. So maybe that's why you like it. It's different costumes.
But it is multiple versions of the same Spider-Man.
Yes, some cases it is. I mean, there's a lot of spider people who have really curvy anatomies, shall I say? That I don't know where that origin is from, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and some of them don't look fully realised. They like you say, they seem like just kind of, oh, this is a basic spider shape. They've got the eyes, they've got the the webbing on their costume or whatever. That'll be enough.
Yeah.
Whereas if they did narrow it down, if the Spider Society was what Gwen originally claims it is, which is like a kind of crack team of spider people that go about fixing things, and it's actually the entry to this Spider Society is actually quite difficult.
Yes.
Which turns out no, anyone can join. Everyone has. Even Peter Park's car is there. And there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a cat, and it's like everything. So it's too much in places.
Yeah.
It feels it really pushes that thing as well of like, why is Miguel so against Miles? Because he seems to be giving his watches out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, even Mayday's got a day pass.
Well, his excuse is that Miles is an anomaly.
No, he just hates other Hispanics.
No.
He was the only one that Miles comes from.
Yeah.
He wanted to feel special. No, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I feel like that bit of the film, like, I mean, it would have been cool for say the fight, the chase scene where they all go after him in the film. Like, maybe there's rooms of other Spider-Man that came out, or like he calls in for them to teleport in or something. I think maybe, okay, that would have been fine. Like, he puts out the announcement, everyone chase Spider-Man, whatever, they all teleporting in to catch him.
Yeah.
Instead of them just all being there, just hanging out. it felt weird. That's one thing about the film I didn't like. That was too much. And that's coming from someone who loves seeing all the different Spider-Man suits, so that's...
I don't have a problem with seeing it. I just think there was too much of it, and it was too often, and it was overkill.
Yeah.
And it was very, oh look, it's that one. Oh look, it's that one. Oh look, and it's like, oh yeah, but where's the plot? Where's the story? I need that too.
Don't worry, Spectacular Spider-Man's there. Don't worry.
It's like they were having an excuse to have a checklist for kids to buy toys.
Yeah.
You would think that, but not really.
Well, toys, comics, merchandise, whatever. It's definitely there to generate that kind of stuff. I mean, you've got, and like I said, it's there to generate hype for the next movie and the spin-offs that might happen, rather than being a thing on its own, which is a problem.
It's like the first 4 episodes of a TV series.
And then they're going, you can't watch the rest of the series for another year at least.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so shall we give it a rating based on our Spider-Man choices? How about that? Dave, are you ready for this one?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah.
Right, let's hear yours.
No, I'll go last.
I'll go last. Okay.
I want to hear yours. Yeah.
You won't be able to follow mine, so you better not go last.
All right. Well, I'll go first then. I was trying to think of a Spider-Man who looks cool, but there's nothing there under the surface. Okay. It's all style, no content. Now, I think that might be a little harsh because there is stuff to this movie that is good. There is some good storytelling in here. It's just, it's too few and far between, and it's not cohesive enough. So I've gone with Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. Because he's a total edgelord. He's 50% spider DNA, 50% super genius, and 100% cool as fuck. But he's overly contrived, and he's less than the full package. He's less than the full package of the character that he's a sequel to. He doesn't add up to as good as the original Spider-Man. And this doesn't add up to as good as the original Spider-Verse movie. It's just, the movie is, it looks amazing. It's well written in places. It has compelling characters, but it doesn't live up to the movie it follows. It's less well paced. Has quite a few big plot holes. It's occasionally embarrassingly referential to other Spider-Man things. It just doesn't quite hit the spot that first movie did. And you just because you want to tell a big story and you want to make it a two-parter, you can do both. You can still make it a complete story. Movies have done this in the past.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back does. Back to the Future 2 does. Those are movies you can watch on their own and not be like, now I need to see the next one, otherwise I don't get my resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my problem with it. I think it looks great. It's got lots of stuff going on, but it just doesn't live up to the previous one. How about you, Galactosh? Because I know Dave wants to go last, even if he's probably ill-advised.
I'm going to go with The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okie doke.
From a 1980 issue of What If, where Aunt May gets the powers of Spider-Man. It sounds like a good idea, but what's the point?
That's very concise.
Yeah. And, it's got a special dough. She's got a special dough in the comic, which is basically the description of this entire film. It's just dough. Nothing's risen. It's just there.
It's half-baked.
It could have come something. It's nothing. So The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okie doke. Well, good, interesting, good choice. Nice deep cut. Dave, what's your feeling?
I would rate this Ultimate Spider-Man, the TV show / cartoon, not the comic book. It's the Spider-Man series that replaced Spectacular Spider-Man.
Right.
And I think me and you can agree, Spectacular Spider-Man was spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably one of the better animated representations of Spider-Man in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that got cancelled to make Ultimate Spider-Man, and it was terrible. It did not follow up in what the creators had done.
I was expecting you to be more positive, but go ahead.
Because people like it, people like that series, but it's bad, and it's bad because they made Spider-Man something different, and it's not who Spider-Man is. It's almost like they tried to make him Deadpool or something like it. All the fourth wall breaking and too many characters being involved. Very much MCU type setting up stuff, which doesn't feel like it's been shoot on into a Spider-Man story. Like, there's a lot of that in this. And like I said, I enjoyed it, but it's like those glaring problems are very prevalent. So that's why I rate it.
Oh, good. I'm glad, because when I first tried to explain this to you, you were very resistant to the idea that it was a flaw that this movie didn't end properly.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't like the because when you explained it to me before, I thought you were talking about it more as like the film practice, like, just can't do this. It's like it doesn't make sense to not have the different plot points. I'm like, well, does it? No, but
I mean,
going through it and listening to all the stuff that happened behind the scenes as well, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe it was onto something.
It's a structure thing, isn't it? Like, movies have a structure, and I'm not saying you can't have an unusual structure to a movie, but it's got to leave you satisfied. It's got to have you walking out the cinema going, that was a brilliant movie. That was amazing. I really enjoyed that. And I didn't. Yeah. I left going, that was half a movie, and some of it was quite plodding and boring, and the rest was a million miles an hour and too much was going on. And it doesn't have the flow the first movie had at all.
Because even films like Pulp Fiction, where it's got an interesting narrative and it's not got a usual structure of a film, has a resolution. It has a beginning and it has a lot of middle.
Yeah.
But this has no real structure. It's not got a real film structure. It's not a good film. It's a disappointment.
It feels like the studio interference was very much apparent in like how this was not.
I don't know. I think the writers bit off more than they could chew, made too big a story, then were like, well, we want to tell this story, but we're going to have to do it in a strange way. And they just didn't have. It's either the directors or the writers or somebody just didn't really have the wherewithal to put it all together to work. Because the story's fine, I find it interesting, but it's like we don't get enough of it.
Because the first film was going to be a lot longer, like it was going to be like over 2 hours. But they cut out a lot of stuff. They reworked it like several times over.
Most films do that though.
And it's to their credit.
Cut out points like, I mean, the guy, his roommate, Genki, has like a whole. He was going to be a very important character in the film, and he doesn't say anything in the first film. Like, they cut him out significantly. Like, there's like the reworking that film got to be shrunk down into a working film on its own. But it doesn't feel like this film got that, or maybe it was the other way around, and they wanted it to be stretched out to have 2 films. And
the problem is cutting it down. I can see, because most films will tighten up in the cut. This is a cartoon. It's not as easy as just going, well, let's just film an extra scene. They've got to animate it, render it. You've got to plan a cartoon ahead. You can make a cartoon smaller easily. You cannot make a cartoon longer easily.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they were against the clock on it because they were already way behind the original release date. So it does feel rushed. It feels kind of not finished. It is unfinished in more than just one way. They could have done a lot more work to make it a concise movie. And that's what they did on the original one, like you're saying. They cut it down. They took out the flab.
Yeah.
They went, no, that's not necessary. That doesn't need to be in here. That doesn't serve the plot. That doesn't serve the story. We can get rid of that. And we can revisit that some other time. But in this, they just put everything in. And yeah, the editing isn't there, you know?
That's what I feel. Like it just does. Having looked at what they were talking about in the behind the scenes and stuff, it just feels like it was.
Yeah.
Obviously, this change happened already while the ball was rolling, having it 2-parters, and then it really suffered for it.
Look, I just on the plotting of what they've got, it would have felt a more substantial and satisfying film if they'd started where it ended and then filled in how they got there.
Yeah.
From what they had, it would have felt more satisfying and less of a shit. It's over. Why is it just starting?
They kind of do that, but not at that exact point. It's from when Gwen's explaining that she's lost her friend and she's pissed off Miles, and she's telling the story at the start, and
but that's just a recap.
But she's talking about things that happen in the film, and you see it happen, like him fighting with Miguel and all that. It all happens at the beginning of the film. But yeah, I think you're right, Galactosh. I think if they had done it that way round, it might have fit better for a storytelling perspective.
If they topped and tailed it with where it ends, started where it ended and finished where it ended, it would have felt much more like a satisfying film in its own right. Because you would have felt you're working your way to something.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Even giving away the reveal, it would have felt much more like it's a coherent, this is how we got to where we end. Damn it, I want to see where we go next. It would have been more engaging to me.
And you don't have to give away how they got there, really. You don't have to explain all, you can explain the whole canon event business mid-movie. Yeah. Like this stuff doesn't have to be, you can just show the fact that Miles is on the run from these spider people. And you're like, how did this happen?
The canon event thing would have worked better in the second film. Explanation of why the first film happened.
Yeah. And they really should have given it a bit more thought.
Yes. Oh, yeah, hell of a lot of thought. I'm just going, if they're running with what they're doing, it would have been a better way round to start where they finish, work their way up to it, and have it more as a chase movie. With flashbacks of how they got to where they're going. You could keep in exactly everything they've got in there just by moving it around a bit, so that it's much more an engaging structure.
Who knows? Maybe they'll do a Galactosh cut and
give me the scissors, I'm ready.
And everyone will be going retroactively, well, this is the version we all were meant to see in the first place. They were just too rushed, blah, 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 blah. Snyder cut kind of style. My optics! Alright, well, seem to be finished. I think what we wanted to do, because we did this in the Batman one, we're going to run down our top 10 Spider-Man movies each. Nice quick fire. I'll maybe play some Whole Lot of Love in the background. So, let's go around, starting with Galactosh. What's your 10th favourite Spider-Man movie? What's number 10?
Number 10, Across the Spider-Verse.
Wow.
Because by my count, there's only 10 anyway, so
yeah,
one of them has to be bottom. Across the Spider-Verse, because even Spider-Man 3 is better than it.
Ooh, harsh. Yeah. Dave, what's your number 10?
Far From Home.
Okie dokie. For what reason?
Peter gives up those glasses way too easily.
My number 10 is also Far From Home. It's boring. It's just not good. It's trash. It's not a good movie.
At least it's got 3 acts.
It does have 3 acts, that's true. They're just all very unentertaining, very crap ones.
That's not the argument, though, because Across the Spider-Verse isn't
No,
a film.
I mean, obviously, if we're going to rate them based on their structure, I might put Across the Spider-Verse last, but I do prefer Across the Spider-Verse to Far From Home. Okay, what's your number 9, Galactosh?
Spider-Man 3. Just because it's just lame, and from what Raimi did for the first 2, it doesn't meet up to it. And emo Spider-Man, I know that it's become a thing with the kids now that they're trying to give a bit of a retribution to it, but for me, it's still even below Amazing Spider-Man 2 standards. Mm-hmm. I'm giving away my next one of every one I do. Go round.
So, Dave, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okie dokie. All right, go on. Why?
Similarities with a lot of Spider-Man films over the years. Too much going on, too many villains. Felt very less and less about Spider-Man. Too much going on.
Okay. My number 9 is Spider-Man 3, so I'm in agreement with Galactosh on this. It's a mess. I mean, it's Sam Raimi, so there's always something to like there, but I can't forgive the dancing. It's terrible. Yeah, exactly. Galactosh is now miming the dancing on our video feed. So, right, Galactosh, what's your number 8?
I'm going to have to go Amazing Spider-Man 2 for exactly the same reasons that Dave put it in there.
All right, okay. Dave, what's your 8?
Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Okie doke. For what reason?
I didn't like the darker take on the Spider-Man they were doing and how much more serious and real world it was.
Okay. My number 8 is No Way Home. It's not a movie. Just like this one's not a movie. It's just a nostalgia fest with bratty, quippy kids designed to set up another movie or more movies. It doesn't. It again hasn't got a very good structure. It's not paced well, and the only reason anyone likes it is, oh look, it's Andrew Garfield. Oh look, it's Tobey Maguire. Oh look, it's William Dafoe. Like it's not a movie. It just doesn't work as a movie. It's not as bad as Spider-Man 3, but it doesn't work as a movie. Mm-hmm. So, number 7 from Galactosh.
Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst of the Marvel Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah.
It is a convoluted plot that is literally just serving the MCU rather than Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't get it for me.
Yeah, it's an MCU. It's part, 19 of the MCU ongoing story. It's not really a movie in its own. Alright, Dave, what's your number 7?
No Way Home.
Okie doke.
I guess not too different to what you were saying. I guess it's probably like the most fan servicey type of Spider-Man live action film you could do, because it's something the internet have seemed to have wanted for so long, to have the other Spider-Men meet the other Spider-Men in some shape or form. And it does it, but I can agree the rest of the film doesn't really hold up, or the weird choices of suits that they got Tom Holland in and all that other stuff. Very weird. Yeah.
Alright. No Way Home.
And like what we talked about with Across the Spider-Verse, the whole not explaining your rules about your multi-dimensional travelling weirdness also pulls the film a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my number 7 is Across the Spider-Verse. I was expecting it to come in as high as, in the top 3. But it was such a disappointment that I can't place it any higher. I want to. And maybe when we've seen Beyond the Spider-Verse, it might move up a couple of spaces, but it's unforgivable that it's not a complete movie. Galactosh, what's your number 6?
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okie doke.
It's alright. Did we need another Spider-Man origin story? No. Garfield's great, but the Lizard's not. Yeah. And Captain Stacy just didn't do it for me either.
Yeah. Well, we're moving into the top half of the list now, so, we're getting there. So, Dave, what's your number 6?
Spider-Man 3.
Okay. You've placed that above No Way Home and...
Yeah.
Okay. Weird.
I mean, I have probably a bias for those movies that will never be surpassed. I really enjoy the Raimi films. And I take the good and the bad with Spider-Man 3. I enjoyed the film.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. My number 6 is Amazing Spider-Man 2. sure, it does have major issues. The bad guys, for example. But the Garfield Stone chemistry, it really works, and it's the closest we've got to a really good, accurate live-action depiction of the character of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So I have a soft spot for those movies because of that. So that's why they're placing a bit higher than maybe they did in your lists.
Okay.
All right. Now we're into the top 5. So Galactosh, number 5.
Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. It's serviceable. Again, it's more an Iron Man film in the way that it's played out.
Yeah.
It's got some great moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the classic recreation of a Spider-Man lifting everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Keaton is great as
the Vulture.
But it's a top half film. It's not. Let's say it's bad now.
No. Let's be clear. Like, we like a lot of these movies.
Oh yeah.
Right, it's not to say they're rubbish because they're coming in at number 5. It's it's quite a high quality list, really. So yeah, Dave, what's your number 5?
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay, because
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, like I think I can't take away from the visuals of this film, the animation, the music, how they've done these type of update to characters and what they've done in terms of the I like the animation. Like it's too much to ignore, and that's why it falls where it is. Because yes, there are problems with this film, and I'm hoping that the sequel will help this film as well as finishing the story. So it falls a bit in the middle for me at the moment.
Okay. Well, my number 5 is Amazing Spider-Man. It's a good setup for a new series of movies. It's not perfect, but I think it's quite underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I kind of said why I liked the Garfield Spider-Man in the last one. Galactosh, what's your number 4?
We are on Spider-Man, the original Tobey Maguire. It is what it is. It's typical Sam Raimi. It's a good film.
Yeah.
It is a good introduction to the character. I like it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Dave, yours?
Number 4 is Spider-Man 2.
Ooh, okay. Good. Yeah, why?
I mean, like I said, I enjoy all the Sam Raimi films, but this one I don't hold as high regard as everyone else does for some reason. But I really do enjoy the film. Like it's definitely my top 5 Spider-Man films. So
well, of course it is. It's number 4.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a really good film.
Okay. Right, yeah. My number 4 is Spider-Man, so in agreement with Galactosh. It's another good setup, and at the time unprecedented, and really kind of moved superhero movies into another realm when it came out. So it has to have that, kudos, because there hadn't been anything like it. And plus, William Dafoe is great.
Yeah.
Right, Galactosh, what's your number 3?
No Way Home.
Okie doke.
I liked it being self-referential to every Spider-Man that's ever come before it. I liked the fact that it had a story I enjoyed.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? Number 3.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes for the reasons that Galactosh stated, but I thought it was a nice introduction to this MCU Spider-Man. It really got us to understand his perspective on what's going on, because MCU was pretty much well established at that point. I enjoyed the villain. Yeah. I found his friendship with his mate alright. I think it was a nice, fun film.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun movie. I mean, as you notice, it hasn't come up in my list yet, so... Alright, so We're on 3, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
It is Homecoming. Not a fan of the MCU Spider-Man, but this one got across him being a teenager better than any other one has. It's a fun high school drama. You just have to ignore all the Iron Man interference that I don't like. But it's a fun movie, and it's a movie I've enjoyed rewatching. So, yeah, it's cool. Number 2 from Galactosh.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's got a story. It's got heart.
Mm-hmm.
Which something its sequel lacks.
Mm. Agreed.
Yeah.
Dave, you're number 2.
Spider-Man was in Spider-Man 1 of the Raimi trilogy.
Right.
One of my big introductions to Spider-Man, and just for like seeing him on the big screen type of film, making him more like up there with all the other superheroes that have gotten all the spotlight over the years outside of comic books. It's nice to have been the introduction. I think it's a great film. Like the characters, like the villain. Yeah.
Right, cool. My number 2 is Into the Spider-Verse as well. I think it's a singularly great Spider-Man movie. It's close to perfect. Like, it really hits all the beats, looks fantastic, does a great job of setting up Miles Morales as a character. It's great. I can't fault it. I just have to decide which one goes number 1. And, this one doesn't quite hit number 1. So, it's time for number 1s. Galactosh, what's your number 1? I mean, we could probably work it out.
I hope you would. Spider-Man 2.
Uh-huh.
Not only is it the best Spider-Man film, it's one of the best superhero films ever made.
Mm-hmm.
It's got perfect story. Everyone has got a redemption arc. That's not just Peter, that's also Doc Ock.
Mm-hmm.
It's warm, it's got heart, it's got pathos, it's got good pacing, and it's a very good Raimi film.
Mm.
Even by Raimi standards, it's got all of his tropes in there.
Yeah.
And is the best use of Bruce Campbell in any of his Spider-Man films.
Is he the waiter or the concierge? Is it that one?
He's the usher.
Oh, he's the usher, yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of Spider-Man 3 where he's a concierge in a French restaurant, isn't he?
It's got Bruce Campbell doing some of his best work of just like making Peter wait, stop, pause. Yeah. It's just a great film, just in general.
Brilliant. So, Dave, what's your number 1?
Oh, well, this is going to tell. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best Spider-Man film. It's so... I mean, I think you said it. I think it has heart. And it has like a real love for the character. And it goes without saying that the whole ethos of representation matters can really be felt in that film, and it means a lot to a lot of people in like a different way they probably wouldn't even realize unless that film came out. It's so important in that sense. I think it deserves a top spot.
Yeah, I mean, those are good reasons. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my 1 and 2 were so very close, to be honest.
Mine were. My 2 and 3 were very close.
Yeah. Well, 2 and 3. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. What was 3 again?
No Way Home.
No Way Home. Okay. Yeah. Well, so my number 1, you will have guessed it, it's Spider-Man 2. For many of the same reasons as Galactosh said. The character is spot on of Spider-Man. The completely different characterization of Dr. Octopus is brilliant. You make him a sympathetic character. Alfred Molina is brilliant as Doc Ock. You have the train scene, which is one of the single best scenes that gets across the idea of Spider-Man so perfectly, and is referenced in Into the Spider-Verse. It's that important. it's just as close to a perfect Spider-Man movie as we're ever going to get.
Yeah.
It just gets the character down to a T.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Whereas other movies struggle, and even some of Raimi's movies struggle. Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, all three of us go into much greater detail about the live-action Spider-Man movies in episode 14 of AARGH My Optics! So, if you want to hear more on that, go find it or something. Right. Well, with that done, I think we can pretty much wrap this up. I mean, we can briefly talk about the fact that we're going to get Beyond the Spider-Verse, so, that'll finish that off. And we talked about the fact that we've got this spin-off, apparently. Spider-Woman spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Be a thing. Yeah. And apparently, yeah, this second movie, Beyond the Spider-Verse, is delayed. Apparently some of the artists that worked on it have said that, it can't happen. The progress on the pre-production side of things is so behind where it should be. They basically made these two movies together until they decided to chop them in half, and then they stopped working on the second half. So it's not there. Like, it's still got a lot of work to be done, and getting it done for March is going to be really hard, especially with a writer's strike and an actor's strike going on. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see this till 2025.
Depends how long the strike goes on for, I guess.
That's why some people have said 26. It's like it's just not gonna.
Yeah, but who are those people though?
I don't.
Yeah.
It was. I saw what I saw was someone who was working on the film, and you know how I was saying some people left or got axed from the animation. It was one of those animators. That's what I heard that from. Yeah.
There's some animators talking about it, and yeah, maybe he said that. But I mean, they're making a guess, just like anybody else, really, I guess. All right. Well, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, outro.
Toys.
Oh, do we have to? Yeah. All right, Dave. Tell everybody about toys.
I predict there will be some toys.
Yeah, there are some toys. Yes, there are and will be.
That's my entire input done.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember having these discussions with you, like, when we started doing the podcast, really, because we were both waiting for Into the Spider-Verse Mafex figures for the longest time.
Yeah.
And that was still, like, 2 or 3 years after the first one that came out. And they still haven't finished everyone from that core cast.
Yeah, well, that's because they never expected it to be a hit, so, like...
No.
A lot of these figures come out late, anyway. Like, you're still getting bloody Endgame figures coming out.
Oh, yeah, there's that, but I mean, like, you could tell that this wasn't being pushed like all the other MCU stuff with, like, the film's coming out, and within a 3 to 4 month period, there's a Marvel Legends wave or something, or there's import figures, or, the high-end Hot Toys or whatever. A lot of the stuff of the first one came out way later, and you could tell that the people doing the merchandise were playing catch-up because the MCU films were the top priority, and it's like, well, Sony's films are not going to do very well. It's animated.
A question as a layman about toys. Mm-hmm. Would it be anything to do with the interesting rights that are going on with Spider-Man these days? I don't think Sony. I might be wrong. I don't think Sony own the rights to the toy lines.
I think it's all
Marvel still own the rights, and they've sold.
Yeah.
And for instance, in the UK and the US, Hasbro have the rights. Marvel are licensed to Hasbro. And then you find that in Japan and like on the the kind of international market, you've got different companies doing them. Like you've got Mafex, like David mentioned, and now they're switching across to SH Figuarts, like that's Bandai. So like it's moving. And then you've got people making them who I don't know exactly what the rights issues are there. Like people like Sentinel, I don't know. It's weird. There's lots of people making stuff. But yeah, they got at least they got the the collector's figures out, Hasbro collector's figures out on time for the movie this time.
Yeah.
So you've got them, and you're gonna get figures quickly this time. I liked the figures. I really did like the figures. I've sold them now, but that's because I got so sick of waiting for the new movie and also waiting for the new characters to come out, and also the SPDR was disappointing from Sentinel. Really quite a bad figure.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, well, that's it. If I can't have the whole team, I don't want any of them. Yeah, it's that kind of feeling. I was like, well, if I can't have a good big robot in the background with Penny Parker, then why am I buying the rest?
Mm-hmm.
No, I just got rid of them. But they look good. The Figuarts ones look good.
Yeah, they're good.
I mean, I wouldn't buy a Spider-Man 2099 if you paid me, but that's just because I don't like the design. Never liked it.
The Ninja Vampire.
Mm.
What is it about his design you don't like? What is it? Is it the Day of the Dead thing?
It's an ugly costume.
Is it the cape?
Mm.
It's an ugly costume. It doesn't look like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it looks very 90s. And you weren't there. You don't understand. You weren't there in the 90s.
I mean, I was there.
You weren't there on the trenches. You didn't see all the pockets and the guns and the cybernetics that everything had.
Yeah.
You weren't there when it was just multiple covers in chromium, and launching an issue. Oh no, that's still happening. But you weren't there when they were just throwing anything that happened and seeing if it stuck. You never saw what the rest of 2099 became. They did Fantastic Four 2099. They did Incredible Hulk 2099. They did Ghost Rider 2099. He was a robot.
Yeah.
It was a horrible time.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
I can understand if Orion's got PTSD on the 90s.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But I never liked the design. I just never thought it looked good.
Those arm talons.
Yeah, it's just not my Spider-Man. And there's plenty of other Spider-Men that I like. I like the design of Spider-Gwen. I like Miles's costumes mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But this one just was a step too far away from what Spider-Man is to me. And I even don't like the fact that he's gigantic in this new movie.
Yeah. And what is it with them mixing up all the names?
What do you mean?
Like Miguel O'Hara, Spanish-Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Morales.
Yeah.
It's like they've gone, right, well, Stan Lee had everything with the same name, the same letters. Peter Parker, Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Matt Murdock. All right, so we're just going to mix up nationalities here and see what comes out.
So yeah, also Miguel O'Hara doesn't have an alliterative name. So no thanks.
Okay. No, I mean, I because you brought it up several times, so I just wanted to know if there was any more going on, like what Galactosh said. Maybe it was like you read the comics, or
I didn't really read the comics.
Like the whole futuristic.
I didn't read the comics. I just saw the design and thought, no, I don't think that looks right, and that put me off. But like, it's just not my cup of tea. It's like, it's not right for me.
It's fair enough.
The 2099 line was a mixed bag of hot mess and fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally, we found an idea. Let's shoehorn everything into it, and X-Men 2099, and the only good one was Doom 2099. Now, if you ever want to read a great comic, read that.
Mm-hmm. I've not read it.
Doctor Doom in 2099, and all the way through it, you are not sure if he is Doctor Doom. He may be Doctor Doom. He might not be Doctor Doom.
Well, I'll put that on the...
But he's filling the role of Doctor Doom.
I'll put that on the
list. It's a fantastic run. There's only about 30 issues of it.
Look it up. All right. Well, unless you have any more to talk about with toys, Dave?
Complete the teams, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what everyone wants. That's the goal for everybody, isn't it? Always with toys. It's always like, I need the whole team, you know, I need all the guys.
They'll always leave one out to keep you wanting more.
Yeah. They always will. Or they'll pack it in with a repaint of another one that you don't really want the repaint of, or whatever. Go, oh, you wanted Spider-Man Noir, did you? Well, you have to buy another Gwen. or whatever.
Or you're going to have to buy 6 of them so you can build the figure.
Yep, yes, that's certainly a ploy.
Yes.
Which wouldn't be so bad, but they probably won't make those 6 the characters you want. They'll make one of them a weird one that you don't need. And then, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, with that said, shall we do an outro? Because we've been doing this way too long. My optics! So there it is. Finally, we've made good on our threat to cover Spider-Verse. Was it worth the wait? Do you agree with me, Galactosh, Virtual Dave? None of us? Why not hit social media and set us straight? It's easy to find us, no point in explaining it too much. But in case you're interested, on Twitter I'm at Ghia Orion, and on Instagram it's Orion_Ghia. Dave, where can they go bother you?
Listeners, you can always find me at Instagram, VirtualDave26, or on Twitter. I haven't joined Threads yet. Maybe one day. But
yeah. Well, I've heard you've got to have an Instagram account to use Threads, haven't you?
So. Yeah.
And I can be found on most street corners, just waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, we all did that at one point. An allusion to our previous jobs. All right. No, it's not what you think.
It is what you think.
But it is a tragic origin story, I can tell you that.
Well, Galactosh, thanks for joining us again. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Right, as per usual, if you enjoyed this as much as we did, then why not express that enjoyment by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, and all those things. We really appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and please join us next time on, shout it together guys, AARGH my optics!
Actually, I did have a question for you. If you could spice it in or whatever. To both of you. What colour is Spider-Man 2099 suit?
Blue and red.
Dark blue and red. It's like silvery blue and red. And black.
Because when I was looking this up, apparently there's a whole thing about it being black and red.
No, it's blue. Oh God.
Oh, I see. Well, there's that, isn't there? There's
What
there's
colour
the fact
feet
that
does Spider-Man have?
Yeah.
What
exactly.
colour's the base of his feet?
And
Oh, right.
is Storm's costume white with black highlights, or is it black with white highlights, or is it silver?
It's white.
Yeah, that threw me when people were saying it's silver.
Yeah, I agree it's white, but some people actually think it's black.
Well, one of them was. It all depends.
One of
Storm
them was, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But the white one with the arm wings and everything, that's white. Maybe silver, but it's certainly not black.
Because what colour is he? I need a picture now. One sec. And I'll be out.
Well, he's certainly dark blue in the movie.
It's dark blue and red in my head.
Well, it's just only because I was looking it up, and some people were talking about this, and there's one comic in particular where he goes dimension hopping or something, and he is in black and red, and people are like, that's what he should look like. All the other shading stuff is not
It's
right.
blue and red.
I think you'd have to ask the people who designed him originally what they were intending, but I think it's blue and red.
Because Spider-Man's blue and red.
Okay.
Yeah, why would you make him black and red?
Like Miles Morales.
That's even further. That's skewing even further away. Well, yeah, but Miles Morales is black. I did notice that in the movie there was none of that blue triangle shit.
It's there, but it's not. You don't see it.
It's not there. It maybe, but yeah, some of the figures came out and he's got like patches of blue on him, and it's like, well, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like how everyone was taking the mick out of his costume though.
Bleeding.
Bleeding from the armpits
and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it's like, well, why did you redesign your outfit? Well, toys, really. We have to have everyone's outfits have to be slightly different. Even Spider-Gwen's is slightly different. She's got different shoes on, and her arms are a different colour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at Spider-Man 2099 #1. He's blue and red.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
It's black shading.
Yeah, exactly. It's not black with blue shading, it's blue with black shading. Yeah.
I just wanted to... you guys are the experts on this, so I just wanted to know what...
Well, to be honest, it doesn't really matter, so long as we are all agreed that Black Suit Spider-Man does not have blue feet. So long as we're agreed on that,
no, it's got
then I don't care.
Fair enough.